Hello, everybody, and welcome. No, but for real, well, thank you for coming, first of all. It's very special for us that people showed up and that we can foster discussion and we can bring visibility to things that we deem important. And I'm sitting here with Saad and with Sabine, and we're going to have a bit of a talk about, about a few topics. Basically, we're gonna introduce Saad and his experience. Saad is Palestinian. He's now based here, and he has a lot of things to say. In, like, as a general perspective, what we wanna talk about is gonna be the many different notions of prison that he has had to encounter in his life as a Palestinian. There's different levels of it, from the physical prison to the more general experience of what being Palestinian is nowadays and for decades have been, and overall, like a lot of other things stemming from his experience. But I'm gonna let them do the talking. If you can maybe introduce yourselves a little bit.
Hi everyone, and thank you for inviting me for this space to this space to be able to talk a little bit and like carry on like the voice of the people who cannot send their voice to the rest of the world. My name is Saad Omar. I'm 39 years old. I was born in Palestine in the city of Nablus. I'm a journalist and a street artist. I was in Israeli prisons for 9 years. My experience is not that different from most of the Palestinian people experience, like most of the individuals, regardless male or female, of living under occupation. When I usually talk and like attend to conversations about the Palestinian case or about the prison or about the judicial system, and I feel big responsibility to carry on the voice of a lot of people, a lot of sections of the Palestinian people in their different sites where they are. And through these talks, I try to present a little bit what the Palestinian people are going through since more than 76 years of occupation and ethnic cleansing, and connected to the situation that the Palestinian people are enduring or living in the front of the whole world in live TV of genocide and displacement and all the kinds of war crimes that doesn't ring a bell for nobody in the world. Evidence that nothing changed since more than 1 year of the excessive genocide. The genocide didn't start in 7th of October or as a response of 7th of October. It's been started silently and loudly many times and changing the tone of the voice or the intensity of the genocide since 76 years. But the only difference is that it was an incident 7th of October that make the whole world wake up and remember that there is Palestinian people and there is a case of ethnic cleansing, colonial occupation, and people who kept resisting and will keep resisting until he reclaim back his land and reclaim back his existence. And as a result of resistance and as a result of fighting back and trying to earn your space and your existence in that world, there's the consequences, which is imprisonment. As a Palestinian, I was exposed to the occupation judicial system or the imprisonment system since a young age. The first time I was imprisoned, it was in the checkpoint coming back from the university for no reason. I was arrested for 8 days in a military base without any charge, just because one of the soldiers just pointed at me. He didn't like how I look, one word to another, beaten up, tied up, and you find yourself 8 days in some military camp without knowing the reason. And after 1 hour, and after like the 8th day, they come and release you in the middle of the night into crossroads that used by settlers and military vehicles. So when they like let you loose in this time, in this way, you are like exposed to being killed by either the settlers or the military vehicles that goes into this road. For me, it wasn't like that, the extended experience. But as a Palestinian, I know that, and I learned that 90% of the Palestinians who live in Palestine has been exposed to this circle of imprisonment, detention, or how they say is you pass through this. So imagine it's 90% of the people pass through this. If not them directly, one of their family members, if not one of their family members, one of their neighborhood, a friend from school, from university, from work. So it's like a shade over everybody who's living there. It's like a system. And it's used as a tool of repression, as a tool of controlling, as a tool of intimidation for a population in order to control it and to facilitate and to make it easier to dissolve these people and erase them from existence. And for that, they have a system that's built not randomly, but detailedly planned to the smallest detail, psychologically planned, engineered. In the repression system, in the judicial system, it's just military court, that you are there is no such a thing as innocent in this system. But for us, it's we don't consider being innocent a good thing when it's regard to resisting the occupation. But in this court, because there is or guilty, or in any court in the world, there's or guilty or innocent. But in these military courts, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your sex, doesn't matter what you do or what evidence, you're gonna be sentenced. You're gonna just negotiate or try to, with your lawyer, try to minimize the damage, minimize how much of your life they're gonna take away. And this is how it is. For me, it was, after this incident, I was living in, being arrested for 8 days because of the West Bank was gutted with a lot of let's say, checkpoints or walls between the cities. It's literally ghettos. It's islands surrounded by military posts, by military camps and settlements. So if you want to get from one city to another, you have to pass through checkpoints, you have to pass through mountains or whatever is over there. So for me, I stayed in a university city, didn't move, because I didn't want to pass through this again, to be arrested for no reason and stayed for a period of time seeing what's happening over there. For me, I didn't know, the too many details come to the mind when you speak about these things, and I feel responsibility to speak about what's happening to people over there. What's happening to people in prison before 7th of October was something a phase of torturement or planned, engineered psychology methods for torturing people, to a savage, brutal, insane, loose out of insanity, all directed to these prisoners after the 7th of October, which caused of deaths, sexual violations, rapes, torture, stealing of organs, kidnapping minors, and the disappearing of many people. This is what is the Israeli occupation system after the 7th of October has brought to us. A lot of military camps were like reconstructed to host or to have prisoners inside it. Cages that prisoners being tied up all day from their with their legs and their eyes. They cannot sleep. They cannot have anything. All of this happening, and there is no voice. Nobody hears what's happening in prison. Nobody knows what's happening to these people. Like, let's say the count in Gaza of the people who are like martyred or killed by the Israeli occupation is 50,000. Other 100 or 200 wounded. The disappeared people is a number that's unknown. That we don't know these people, like, is under the rubble, under destroyed houses or neighborhoods. They are in military camps, imprisoned, or like killed and thrown somewhere. Nobody knows. Among these people who are disappeared are many kids. And a lot of people who think that their loved ones, their family ones died after the release of some prisoners from Israeli prisons, they learn not know that they're still alive. The situation now is like every once in a while during the month, the Israeli army will come with a container, leave it somewhere in the Palestinian neighborhoods and go. When the people come close to this container and open it, they found out that it's filled with bodies. These bodies have suffered operations, surgeries, with no names, no dates of death, no reason of death, or where was they when they were killed. Nothing, unknown. Some days it's 40, some days it's 100, and you are forced to bury them fast without trying to pass identification for these people. These people were prisoners. These people was passed through the Israeli imprisonment system, a new one. Before all of that, I wanted to say the nature of this, of what's happening in Palestine is not a religious nature. It's not ideological. It's very simple. Indigenous people who are living in this place, being robbed and being extorted, being kicked out of their land, and invaders. This is very simple. In my time inside prison, I was in the same cell with Christians and Jews, Palestinians before. And always I say, I understand from my understanding and how I lived and how is the Palestinian society, it's that simple. These people came and occupied our land, tried to erase our existence, tried to erase our history, and manipulating and destroying our present and putting our future and the future of the generations to come in question and in the unknown. So, want to say something?
Yeah, no, I wanted to ask you, I think it's an important point that you made before about the different types of prisons and, the use of, because there's a point that you talked with me and Claudia before, and you talked about how, Israel is a system of prison, and you have many different layers under that. So I feel like there's more there that you can also tell us about, maybe.
Yeah, let's say the shades of prison created by the existence of this entity in our land. From the shade of the basic level that you are arrested in a small cell, 4 walls and a ceiling, and you're receiving all of this torture, to being in the exile. Being a Palestinian by itself is, in the situation that we have, you are in prison. You are in prison of how people look at you, how the rest of the world look at you, how you've been presented to the rest of the world since centuries and centuries, or not centuries, sorry, like years and years. And the main issue about prison, about prisoners, the image of them, when people hear listen, prisoners, and like, so okay, like terrorists, they have the image, that stereotype, that been like labeled or like stigmatized on these people. And I'm one of them. I'm one of these people. I was with them in prison. I saw these people, how in their daily life, in this small space that we shared for years, every day, 24 hours. I saw the most people who like sacrificed and like gave from their lives, their bodies, their like ages, their families' lives, for something that they will never benefit from and they will never live to enjoy or to endure. I see people who paid with them and came forward to be the first front line of defense of the Palestinian people. Meaning that you go to prison, meaning that you are from the few people or the people who annoyed and like threatened the occupation by standing up to the occupation, raising your head, that they saw you as a threat, that you should be isolated from the rest of the community, so it doesn't infect and like encourage people to do the same as you. And you have to be an example of what resistance could get you by torturing you, by torturing your family, by living all of this. And like you go into this, and they want you to know that being in prison or going to prison for resisting, that means that the punishment will never stop, will never end. It doesn't even end by you dying inside prison, because they will take your body and use your body as a torture method against your family, against your society. And they come in their propaganda saying after the 7th of October, from a lot of lies that they like put over us, that the Palestinians like stole dead bodies of soldiers and settlers. I confirmed that, and like, yes, it was true. There was an image of an old guy with his 2 sons going after, like, the resistance managed to pass this military base, and he took a body of an Israeli soldier. And they picture it in the Israeli media, look, even an old man taking a body of a soldier. But they don't tell you that this old man have his kid being killed since years, his body being stolen, and probably before his kid died, he was tortured, like a subject for medical experience or bullshit that they have, and buried without a name. And this family did everything, and with a lot of families, more than 300 families, 370 families, before the 7th of October. After now we have an enormous number of disappeared people and bodies had been stolen. These people went into demonstrations, asked the Red Cross, United Nations, Israeli judicial system even, to ask to take the bodies of their beloved ones, their family members, to bury them. And that was the answer always a refusal. The only way that the occupation gave up something that he took from you, if you took something from him. And these people just wanted like a very basic human thing, to bury respectfully their loved ones, to end a circle. But the occupation don't want you to end the circle. That's why if you go into prison, the punishment will never stop. Even if you get released, they will keep monitoring you. They will come to your house. They will intimidate your family. They will give you like a paper to come next day to military base. You go, stay there for all day, and then nothing happened till you go home. That's the intimidation. a constant intimidation. If you want to work, they will not let you. If you want to travel, they will not let you. If you want to marry or like have a family, you have this in question. Because always this shadow is over your head. And it's always this constant threat. Now what's happening is more and more like worse than was happening before. Now like they have entire families inside prison. Women, children, like all of them like disappeared. There is people in isolation system that they are like don't see, don't hear nobody, always tied up. Like Khalda Jarrar, which is like she cannot see light. There is now a single window in the cell that she is, and she's there more than now like 90 days, I think.
I think they even covered like the place in the door, in the toilet door. She had like an opening, and they recently covered it up so she can't even get any air in.
Yeah, it's like this is what people endure inside prison. The people outside of prison, let's say in the West Bank and Gaza, more example, is like they are living on open prison. For example, Gaza for a long time, for like more than 30 years, nobody can go out that easy from Gaza, and nobody can enter back. Nothing entered like unless they control it. It's exactly like prison. But the only difference between like Gaza and the West Bank is after the Israeli retreat from Gaza, because they resisted, they made the coast, as we understand, the occupation is an imperialist, colonialist, capitalist program or like project. If the cost of defending it from the ones who fund it and defend it is like higher than the profits that they like win from it, they will just abandon it. This is how it was the occupation in all of history. It was in Vietnam, it was in Algeria, it was in many cases that we witnessed when the people keep resisting. It's like an extortion program, extortion project. When the cost of defending it is more higher than what they win from it, they will just leave it or close it, go somewhere else. And this is how they are. In Gaza, they have like water, or like let's say on the beaches of Gaza, there were settlements like amusement parks. They had like settlements which is like farms that was like from the land of Gaza, and the soil of Gaza was producing a lot of stuff that they were benefiting from it. When the resistance concentrated of attacking all of these settlements, they abandoned it. And it resulted that they retreated from Gaza. And this is how they will get out from Palestine. Every time they make the cost of resisting high. But every time we get late, the cost will be higher. As a Palestinian who lives in we lived in the West Bank, I saw how like everything is controlled by them. Like it could be like a 12 or like 14 years old settler will close the road on like a whole city by just entering in the standing in the middle of the street. But he will be like supported with like 10 military vehicles. Palestinian who are living outside of Palestine, not recognized as a person, living in refugee camps in countries that didn't want them. They like gamble with their existence, use it as a leverage, take more money on it, or in some cases like being, like taking the, what they call it? Paying the price of having them or supporting them. What's happened with the case of Syria and Lebanon, in Lebanon in particular, that endures a lot of like, let's say like they paid a lot of price. They paid price of their sons and paid price of their like whole country again and again and again, facing destruction, because also they said no. Because the existence of this occupation, our land, is not only like limited to the Palestinian historical border. They have like interest in everything around them. They wanted to control everything. They want to eliminate all of these people, backed up with all the colonialist powers and the capitalist powers that they profit from this occupation.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to like kind of ask you about stressing, because you're talking a lot about resistance and like the importance that resistance has in the potential decline and eventual failure of the colonialist project, the Zionist project. And I was wondering, also based on a brief exchange that we had outside, how effective do you think the imprisonment system is to decrease the morale and destroy like the social fabric that is keeping the resistance alive? That on one side, and also I was wondering about or do you wanna? Yeah, if you wanna.
I think you're gonna ask the question that I was gonna ask as well, of like about ways to resist as well in prison.
Yeah.
I mean, you were gonna talk about that as well. Yeah, of like the different ways that you also resist inside prison, because like they put you in jail, but people are still finding ways in there to resist as well. You know.
For the first question is like what effect that imprisonment have on the Palestinian community. I can tell you before me as a person, like past the experience of going to prison, I usually used to pass late at night by the square in my city, and I see buses of like women and elderly people like waiting on the square and accompanied with like the Red Cross vehicles. I was always asking, who was these people? Like, I was a kid, like asking, like, and I asked once, and they said, like, these are the families of the prisoners. They wake up very early and pass all like the checkpoints, the torture, get stripped, yelled at, pushed. They throw the stuff they brought for their like children in prison, and they go from 5 in the morning, pass a journey that like will take 1 day in the heat or in the cold, and wait in front of prisons for hours just to see their like their families or like family member in prison for like half an hour behind a glass that you barely hear anything. And these people, when I saw them, I felt that this is my family. When I was a kid, I felt that I'm related for them, never knowing that my family will be in their place. I never imagined that my family will be in this place, waking up in the morning, passing up all of this time, all of this way of torture and all of this stuff, to come to see me for like half an hour. I know that very well that my prison time has affected my family and affected what they call it, the surrounding of my family, my friends, my neighbors, my extended family. It affected. Through the years of prison, I don't see that like effect or change. But when I went out, I remember there was like a lot of people who came to see me, to congratulate me for going out that I didn't know. I didn't know since before. Or they are like friends of my brothers, or friends of my family members, friends of people who was with me in prison, their families, their like mothers, their sisters, their aunts, my like comrades from the leftist party that I was with, like came, and all of these people came from far places, late at night, to just to see this person who went out from prison. So when I get out, I like realized that this like this tissue that has been built between me and a lot of people that I didn't know, and it was built between my mother and the mothers of other prisoners while going to see their kids. Instead of like breaking the society or being like afraid or like isolated and only thinking as individually, as a society being, no, the imprisonment make it like the opposite. It strengthens the ties with people that you never know. You're not like by blood connected to them, but you became connected to them by this struggle, by enduring and passing through all of these torture methods as families, not as prisoners, to continue to give emotional support and all of this to people who are paid with their lives, so you can like feel free or feel existing as a human, not as the pictures as animals. So this price that you pay, you never like take back something from it as an individual or your family. You pay for other ones who come. And this is like I don't know what's more human than this act. You know, if you fight, your house might be destroyed, your family will be in the streets, anything that your family could own will be or destroyed or confiscated. Every time one of your family will pass a checkpoint, he will be beaten up or like tortured or like humiliated. Your family cannot travel outside. This is not you. This is the consequences of people you know. And these people, when you ask them, they tell you, oh, no. Don't like be afraid. Don't retreat. Don't ever have like a step back. These people who will suffer with you, your decision, tell you no, like go ahead, don't worry. I remember during the interrogation, they wanted to pressure me, so they called my mother while I'm in interrogation room. And he was talking with her in Arabic, part of the intimidation that they speak with your language, with a tone that makes you think that they have everything, they know everything. They know your language, you know the jokes, you know the detail. They know this is the mental manipulation that they have. So they called my mother and they told her this is the Israeli intelligence. We have your son, and he's hearing you if you want to speak with him. And my mother called me by my name and asked me, "Are you okay?" I told her yes. She told me okay, and she hung up. And he was surprised. He told me, "Is this your mother? Are you sure?" I told him, "You know this is my mother. You called her on her personal phone." He told me, "Your mother doesn't love you." I tell him, "As you want. I know that she loves me, that she knew exactly and she understood what is going on right now. I know that she wanted to hear more my voice and speak with me, but she preferred to hang up because she knows this is a critical moment in the interrogation and they want to use it against you. That's why if they have managed to pressure you another way, they wouldn't call her because it might get you a push or support. And the opposite thing that happened. So this is what the effect that has on the society, how it build a tissue and a new bond of solidarity inside these people, and all the talks from the women who play the biggest role and pays the most, it's a bill, the biggest bill that the women pay in Palestine, because they the ones who raised, the ones who support, the ones who sometimes used to pass the weapons and plan and write the announcements of the resistance during the first Intifada. They are the ones who joined directly, and their position in our society always was related or going in very parallel with the resistance. The more that the resistance is higher, and in its peak, the more that the women in our society is in their highest place or highest phase or biggest let's say role. The more that the resistance was less in the years of Oslo Agreement, the more that the position of the woman retreated and went back. And the women who I saw how In prison, the relationship between prisoners and their wives or their mother changed. Because before they were like in a system or society that the man is the one who is providing, and he is the one who is taking care of the family, most of the cases. And now he is the one, the woman is the one who's taking care of the family and taking care of him inside prison, emotionally, mentally, economically, everything. So all of what they endure, coming to visit us in prison, passing through all of these methods, is what like keep us going. All what happened to our prisoners and keep happening to our prisoners, this was what will repeat 7th of October in a harder way and bigger way. Imprisonment was like invented to break the people. It was a tool of repression on individuals and in the collective or the community. And how do we resist in prison? The prison is built to make you empty, to turn you into an animal, to make you isolated, to terrify you, to break you as a human being. But what they do is in prison, if you go inside, like you're, I went when I was 18 and a half to prison. I lived with people who was like doctors, engineers, artists, farmers, workers. Every one of them gave me something. Every single one of them gave me something, and I gave them something. Not by planning it, by living together. Like in prison, there is a hierarchy. The Palestinian parties are representative inside prison. Not because the Israelis are very nice and they let you. No, because we had in the movement of prisoners a long history of struggling inside prison to have these rights. These rights were now eliminated, all of them after 7th of October, but every party have represented. Every section have one representative. People inside prison learn with each other, exchange culturally and by living with each other, exchange experience. There's a lot of lectures, a lot of studies. The engineer will come to speak with you about engineering. The doctor will come to give nursing or first aid classes and gives a lot of knowledge to people. Like painters, teach people how to draw. I remember of my time, nobody will come, for example, literate who doesn't know how to read or to write. That will, when he get out of prison, he will not, or he will stay as the same. They want you to have this time out of your life, to be a waste, to be an empty space that will turn you into an object. But what happens in prison, how we resist, is rebuilding these people, living as in this community, exchanging knowledge, pushing each other and defending each other in the face of Israeli attacks. For example, if they attack a section in prison, the whole prison will unify and attack back, because they cannot beat up somebody and we would just listen to them being beaten up. This is the same what's happening in Palestine now, in the outside bigger prison. If you hear that the people in Gaza is being attacked and beaten up, the West Bank part of it is resisting and fighting, and they pay the price. If they beating up the women in Jerusalem in the streets and kicking them out from Al-Aqsa and from the church, and the settlers spit on the nuns and on the priests in the streets of Jerusalem, this is enough reason to fight. This is enough reason to fight. If our women is gonna be attacked and beaten up by settlers who came from Poland, who came from somewhere else, and they claim that God gave them this land, let God give you what He promised you. Don't come to knock on my door, tell me this is my house. Very, very simple. It was very simple.
Yeah, sorry. remember we had this discussion once where you told me the story of how you used sound in one of the prisons that you were in, how like the use of sound as a way of resistance, and I was wondering if you could tell that story as well, because I think it's a really nice one.
Yeah, I remember this story wasn't in prison, it was in the interrogation time. Interrogation, I was interrogated in an interrogation facility in the first settlement that was by coincidence. I don't know what coincidence is that. It's a settlement, the first settlement was that built in Palestine. It's called Mlabbis. The Israeli name is Beit Tikva. And the one is one of the worst interrogation sections that in Palestine existing. I was underground for 150 days. You cannot tell, like, not light, not day. You cannot know what time is it, what's happening outside, what weather. You're isolated, and you don't hear nothing. So sound was very important. When we were like moved to like the bigger like cells with more than one person, or like when we were together, we hear the other guys from the other cells. So one time we discovered that the sink inside the cell is connected to a tube, goes to the upper flank where the interrogation rooms are. One time, one guy was hitting on the sink with his hand, and we heard the voice upstairs during the interrogation. So we realized that we are connected from up and down. And when they start taking people up to the interrogation, we start like calling each other from the cells and waiting for like 5-10 minutes, then started beating up on the sinks. So the people upstairs in the interrogation feel that they're not alone. They know that we are down and we are in this moment with you, like beating up on the sinks. And he used to come down and kick us or like shout on us or prevent us from smoking or something like that. But it was worth it. So every time that they take somebody up to the interrogation, or we hear a door, or we hear the chains on the ground during the night, and by the way, this is the worst sound ever that I know from my life. The sound of chains like being dragged on the ground. I feel like it's inside the brain. So when we have this, we break the cycle of they try to create around this person, isolate him. So this was like a method of being with the person who's being interrogated. And the first thing that I asked when I went out of prison is going to the local market to listen to the sound of people, to the voice of people. I remember the last time I was like standing on the stairs of the prison truck who was gonna take me to release me. I was looking on the Nakab prison, which is like it contains 3,000 people. It's large, like compounds, and it was like closely to 5 a.m. and the sound of the whole prison getting ready to like the dinner, and like you hear like people talking in the 3 sections. Like every section have 1,000 person, and what I saw is an army. An undefeated army. Like these people been isolated, beaten up, their lives were taken. And you can still hear their laughs. You can still hear their jokes, their calling. They still like they're like all of them as one unit doing their stuff to survive. And when they get out, the voice of the people is like something that enters into your soul and like it like lifts you up. People, when you see you in the street, and after like small, because they see you on the TV when you got out, and are you the guy who was in prison? The people I don't know, like he just come hug you. People I like never met them, like old women. Like just they know you, and you feel this like love and this how they like they push you and like they rise you, and you say, yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it, yeah. I do it again, yeah, I will do it again. For these people, it was worth it.
I wanted to actually, like, you reached the point that I wanted to ask you about, and it's like, after the imprisonment, what was the feeling when you got out? You know, because they're talking about the way prisons are not just the facilities, you know, like life is imprisonment under occupation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I wanted to ask you, how did it feel? And what would be your conception of freedom if the regime, like what are the different possible ways of freedom under the occupation? If there are such.
Resisting is freedom. Under the occupation, resisting is freedom. Like anything less is like fake individual salvation. Even getting out of there and living abroad, like me now. Here there is liberties, but there is no freedom. You can do whatever you want, but you're not free. It's very obvious, you know it, and now we see it very clear. We know that like all the what they call it, the humanity, the morals, the civilization is the yellow smile of the wolves in the face of the sheep. And what the weak ones do in the forest, they go deep in the dark until their teeth and their nails grow up. There is no space for weakness, no space for. We saw a whole year of live TV of genocide. How I felt like when I was inside with these people, I know where I am. I know where is my lines, where is the front. The front comes from the door. We are in the cell, so the front line is the door. They will come from here. But when I went out, the front line is everywhere. The front line is keeping in the same moral, in the same spirit, fighting and resisting. Because as long as this entity exists over there, you're not free, you cannot live. Like, I tried to get a job, was like always they want to review your security or like security history or something like that. So you cannot work because you have like you have a past, and this system created by the what they call it, the authority that been created by the occupation to keep following and like pursuing these people who was in prison and make their life hard. So this was like life outside the prison. It was hard. It was frontline everywhere. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna try to live. Okay, you cannot try to create a family. This dream is like been killed too many times. Not because you can't. Everybody can. But you feel like afterwards, what? This, if I want to make a family, this kid will grow up and be like, okay, what's this? Or like, I don't know how to explain it. The continuity of our nation or our people is divided in two parts. Parts will continue having the families and the reproductive and replace the ones that the Israelis killed, and parts will go on and fighting. In this, the first one, stories, they will raise and love and put their like souls into these kids, and they will be taken in a second. These ones who like go to fight, They know that life is short. They know that they are like doing this so the other ones survive. So we divided ourselves as a people, and all of us are like satisfied and acceptable and very like happy to have this. Some parts were like not. They prefer like short time like profit. They believe the lie of giving. If you give up part of your land, part of your existence, they will let you live. And we saw how long. And every time that you give one step, they take 10. Every time you like take down or like, okay, I will not take this, I will let you do this, they will take more.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry, I don't know how much time we have left, but I wanted to talk about this morning. There was another talk by Sohab Shara in New Baris, who is a Lebanese, basically, how do you say, revolutionary, who attempted to assassinate like an Israeli, not Israeli, like a Lebanese person who was in charge of. Anyway, she went to prison as well in Khiam for 10 years. And she was talking a bit about her experience, and I've read a bit about it before as well. And there's a point that she made that I think is really interesting. And I think that probably what is the case as well in all Israeli prisons, which is they don't let you have anything, and you're not allowed to create anything. So they want to like constantly take away, you know, like your means. So like she said, she couldn't have a pen. They couldn't have, like, other than the fact that they were isolated, each in a different cell. Like, she couldn't have a pen, she couldn't have anything that she could create with. And eventually, at some point, one of the women in prison created a pen out of like a cheese wrapping, you know, and they started using that. And then one day, one of the women did an operation to steal a pen. And they gifted it to her through like the toilet, you know, and I don't know. I feel like this parallels of like trying to steal everything from you that makes you feel human, but also this idea of like how you like. I wanted to ask, what were ways that you were trying to resist, like to keep yourself human when you were in there? Because she said like she was singing a lot, for example, but I know in a lot of places if you sing, they shut you up as well.
I don't know. For me, I mentioned that I'm a street artist, but I learned painting in prison. Like I learned like drawing in prison, and it was like during the interrogation phase, because like the cell was like a small space with the walls have like sharp edges, so you cannot lean back on them or like sit or like, and the only like straight surface was the door. And one of the times they brought me the food and they throw it, so it have some yogurt in it, and the yogurt splashes on the door, and it have a white space, small like white like splashes on it when it dried. So next time they brought it, I started to put the yogurt on the door, like painting it, and when it dried, I started like with my nails, like doing some forms and stuff. First time they saw it, they were super pissed off that they hanged me in the bathroom from both my legs and my hands until they managed to clean it. And then I kept doing it every day that they bring me the food. So I kept doing it. So they stopped bringing me yogurt. So later on, when I went to prison, we have like some old books that been given by the Red Cross and our families and all. So I was like a library like keeper or something like that. Yani we can say this. So it was like my responsibility to watch up the books, because we don't have a substitute, we cannot replace them. So anybody takes a book to take care of them, and like maintaining the books was a thing. So it was a guy putting his coffee over the book, and it have a circle. And he said he did it one time, And I tell him it's not possible one time because this is one circle, two circles, and like it gets darker every time, the circle, because the coffee was like. So and I try to do it on like a paper, or the shoes wrapped up with a paper. So when they bring shoes for the workers, I used to take these papers, and I put the coffee over them, and it like when you put more coffee, it have more degrees of color. So and like I started to look for like other types of colors or material to do colors, and okay, I said there's like the cigarette ashes will make black, and cigarette ashes with like toothpaste will make gray, and like a little bit of like perechil or something like if you do it, it will make color. So I started doing basic stuff, and always they come and steal it. I had a lot of stuff that I made in this way that I didn't manage to get them out and smuggle them because it was hard. And I have only one drawing that managed to survive this by putting it by creating some type of glue. That was like created by another a guy of us, a friend of us, is an artist. His name is Tariq Doli. He have life sentence, and he was teaching people to draw in prison. And it's contained from two parts. It's like the paste of like washing dishes, and the white part of the egg. So it will create a transparent like layer over the painting, and it's like when it dries, it's like rubber, like it's like flexible. So you can like roll it, and like it's like make it smaller to get it out. So this is one way of creating that we was doing. A lot of people was creating from toilet papers like ashtrays by mixing it with sugar, or like with also the white part of the egg, and all like if people were like creating stuff and trying to give it up for their families. So this was like part of creating that we used to do. A lot of people was drawing with what they call it, bleach. Because they used when they changed the color. And this experience happened in multiple prisons without speaking with each other or like coordinating, or we draw, like it happened by like, experience and discovery. You're working in the laundry place in prison, and you know that when like the bleach go into the clothes, it changes the color, it burns it. So the first one that I drew with bleach was like a portrait of Che Guevara. And like this like Che Guevara, like it was the first one was like very weird and very like very like funny. But I started doing it more, and a bit by bit, these shirts that have like things that written on them started to appear in the yard of our section. And in prison, you cannot you cannot bring any shirts that have anything written on it, or like a resistance symbol or something like that. And they were like looking and like, where the hell did these shirts come from? And then they kept looking, and then they found out. One day they came the warden of prison and told me, look, inside my cell, told me, look, you have two choices. Or there will be no black shirts coming into prison, or there will be no bleach, or you will go out to another prison. Or you stop doing this. I said, I will stop. Next day we start drawing with markers on white shirts. And I like stayed there like for 2 months, and then I'll be kicked out for like another prison. So like, and I found out that people doing the same in other prisons, drawing with some material, creating some stuff, and like this is like what the human mind, like they want us to be animals and to be close and to be wasting our time in nonsense. But what happens is reverse, like people like start to create, to always look for, like we start to be like water, like creating even like our path through the stone to get out. And during prison, you are reading, you're creating, your mind and your soul is somewhere else. You're thinking about loved ones. When you come back from the visits and you have new pictures, I used to see people looking in their children pictures at night. You are somewhere else. But the prison guard is gonna be always there. Gonna be always the prison guard will gonna be always there in the hallway, putting the light through the window to see if you are there or not. And he cannot sleep, because if he sleeps, he will dream that you ran away. Like what happened when the 6 prisoners managed to run away. So this is how we understand it. And this is how it's going there. Like, we try to, because our revolution, our message is like human message, always creating urge of life. And what they want is, what they have and what they produce is the culture of death. We are not afraid of dying for our land and for our people. We don't like death. We don't like seek it. But if it was the price to be free and to be human and to exist, because if you resist, you exist. If you don't resist, they will throw you some food and they will throw you and you will disappear. Nobody will respect you. They will respect you maybe to kill you, but they will respect you. They will see you as equal. They will be afraid of you, and you will be respected.
Okay, I really didn't want to interrupt you. It was just beautiful. But, I mean, we're coming to an end of the hour session.
Okay.
And we wanted to leave 30 minutes of open questions. You know, like, you've touched a lot of topics. That's been beautiful to listen to you. And really eye-opening. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And now I give you the chance to ask anything that may have arisen from the testimony that Saad has brought to us. We have 30 minutes for that, and yeah, don't be shy, and because I think he's going to be open for anything, to reply anything. And yeah, I pass you the mic. Yeah, if you can come closer, actually, like, we're going to bring the mic across the non-existent window, and yeah.
And don't worry, if you don't have any questions, we can keep talking.
Or even a comment.
Saad can keep talking, I mean. By we, I mean Saad.
Hi, my name is Sheila. Thank you so much for this interesting talk. I'm really sorry I missed the beginning. What was your name?
Sad.
Sant. Perfect. Okay. I have a question. Being Palestinian, having experienced Israeli imprisonment and the occupation, I was wondering, what is like the Palestinian opinion on why Israeli people are capable on doing these things? So I'm German, and I think the best part about my generation is because I think I got properly educated about like Nazi Germany, the Second World War, and part of our education was also the psychological circumstances that eventually allowed also my grandparents to be part of such a fascist regime. But this is also like almost 100 years ago, so it's quite laid back. But then within the Palestinians, is there a general consensus that gains eventually an understanding of people like you and me are capable with human torture?
To be honest, the system that they create around their existence will allow them to do this. Being grown up, knowing that there's some kind of they don't tell them that they are people. They tell them they're minus level of existence. Being raised in a circle of, I'm talking about the occupation, a circle that tells you that you're superior over other people, even the Christians, even the Europeans, telling them that everybody hates you. Keep feeding them the same propaganda that you have to kill everybody, you have to be brutal, you have to do all of this, so nobody will do to you something that happened, what happened in Germany. To get normal people doing it, there is levels of doing it. from the ones who facilitate in the media and like spread lies about stigmas and like racist narratives, to the person who buy Coca-Cola from the street, from a normal shop, or like go Burger King or McDonald's or Carrefour. These people are like complicit, but like the ones who are like capable of torturing people, we saw how this society was like built on psychos. Like they can, like people who have no limits. People knows that there is no consequences. There is no consequences of raping a prisoner in front of cameras. On the contrary, they don't want anybody to be prosecuted. The one who raped the prison and the prisoner went out on TV and were braced. The settlers were making a demonstration to have the right to enter and rape prisoners. So when you see this entity, this is not a society. This is not like a normal, like I say, people. This is like a gang of looters. This is like an army who create a band who became an army supported by all the Western and most of the Arab world. We don't think that the Arab world is with the Palestinians. Not the Arab world as peoples. Government sees us as a threat too, so they justify this when they see and tell them that we are terrorists. But killing 1 million Iraqi in Iraq, this is not terrorism. Killing some people in Libya, Syria, this is not terrorism. Killing people in all of these places and sieging them because of political and exploitation for capital, this is not crimes. This is like, I told you, like I said, like this system that we have today proved to be a lie. It's human rights, civilization, morals for white people only. That's like the.
I think it's really interesting that you mentioned that you had a proper education about what happened, like in Germany, in that history. But I doubt that you had a proper education about the role of Germany, the active role of Germany in the creation of Israel, because that was where Germany exported its problem too, you know, because in the Middle East, there was never a Jewish problem before the creation of Israel. Jews existed. There were Jews Palestinians, Jews Lebanese, Jews Iraqis. They've been living for centuries in that land. They stopped being able to live peacefully in that land after the creation of Israel. And the creation of Israel was also partly, because of the German problem, because of the European issue that they had with Jewish people, so they decided to export their problem onto Palestine and to create this entity. And it's interesting because people confuse these two things. They think that Jewish and Israeli are the same thing, but people like me and Saad know that it's not the same. Yes, there is Jewish Israeli, but this settler that came from Poland or that came from wherever in the world, his ancestors didn't come from this land. The ancestors of the Jewish person that came from this land, like the people who have ancestors that came from this land, had to be expelled afterwards, or had or were invisibilized, or got mixed up in the conflict as well. So just on this point as well.
No, definitely. I absolutely agree with you. It's insane. I'm not proud of it, but also what being Jewish means for the longest time, I think I still don't know. And I want to say that I'm ambitious enough to want to educate myself, but even talking to Jewish people, they seem to be not a general consensus, because it's a culture, but beyond religious, beyond ethnicity, beyond citizenship. Also here, I have no opinion. I'm too less knowing about it.
Yeah. This is the thing that they want to mix up. They want to mix up religion and ethnicity, and this is not the same thing. What they wanted to Zionism claim is like Judaism is their property. and they use it, and it was like the tool of trying to collect these people who was persecuted and like chased out of Europe, to give them to use their suffering and to concentrate their existence into building a colonial project, which is the Zionist state. And from there went on of creating this entity and impersonating the representing of the Jews in the world and taking advantage of extorting Germany in particular to keep paying monies like blackmail, and to have in their constitution as only country that you have to recognize the right of another state to exist, and it isn't not related to the Jews. And what Zionism is doing is like making more anti-Semitism, and when you say anti-Semitic, you have to know what's Semitic and know who is Semitic. You don't tell me the blonde guy with blue eyes came from France or Poland or Germany, this is Semitic. I mean, wake up, good morning. Really? Maybe we have more Jewish bloodline more than them. The Christianity, all what is started, and all Jesus even like his blue eyes and blonde too. This is part of the narrative. You ask how they could make it like this, because they tell them that this is what the creativity or like the level of what is human, and under it is the rest. The human comes from these like features, and the rest is not. So whatever you do to these not is justified. So this is what we see in Africa. Nobody's talking about Sudan because most of the people are there black. Nobody's talking about in the media what's happening in Congo because it was ex-colonies of colonial countries. So our hearts go to the people in Congo, in Sudan, and in Yemen, and all of these places, and that being extorted, being manipulated and used by the colonialist forces, that they are putting the bar of morals, and as so awkward, they're putting the bar of morals and human rights and civilization, starting all of this and making all of this. And so the occupation state or the Zionist state learned a lot from Nazi Germany, used a lot of their methods, and like developed more on it. This is the worst. Yeah, that could happen.
Anybody else has a question?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Don't be shy, really. Like, we're not gonna, like, there's no judgment and anything. Like, I can assume that a lot of us have a lot of questions, even ourselves, I guess, actually. Thank you for holding. So, yeah, I mean, this is your chance to do it, like, outside of the screen. And that we usually.
We cannot see nobody. So.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely not. So.
It's like anonymous.
Yeah. Anybody? No? I'll ask the question myself then. Last chance. I'm gonna count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I think there's a part that was that's interesting that you didn't talk about. I'm sorry, I'm going back to the topic of prison again, but I think it's important for people to know that also before the 7th of October, there was also different kinds of prisons. Like you yourself told me once that you were in a prison that was in the desert, and like we know about Sidi Taman now and like everything that's happening there. I think that's what it's called. But can you tell us a bit about that as well? Because that's not like something like we talk, it's called behind the wall, the talk, but there's also prisons without walls. And I think that's an interesting take as well.
Yeah. Prison is like many levels and many shades. The prison in the desert was like just fences, like circling a plot of ground in the desert with sand and tents thrown over there, surrounded with tanks, towers, surveillance system, and cameras and all of this stuff. This is physical like imprisonment, when you go out of prison, you have the mental imprisonment that you don't plan nothing in your life. There is no plan in Palestine. Anybody will tell you he have a plan in Palestine is a liar. It's very easy. There is hopes, there is expectations, there is like people ambitious and then they try to do stuff. But to do this, leave it to time, leave it to what happened. Inshallah, I'm going to say. Because your life could be intercepted, stopped, change course of many, many incidents that are related to the occupation. The occupation enters into the details of your life. In prison, they will come to tell you, why is there is a pillow on a chair? It's not allowed. So whoever put the pillow on the chair will go to punishment cells for 1 week. For me, it was like, I used to feed the birds. They used to give us like 5 pieces of bread during the day for one prisoner. So I used to keep a little bit of them, or like the small pieces of stay. And at night, or close to dawn, I used to throw it from the small window to the birds in the yard. And the birds will come eat it, and a small, simple thing that I used to do. They didn't like it. They came first time, tell me, you cannot do this. So I tell him practically to fuck off. And then he started like a fucking kid. Like he started like coming and making afraid, like making a surprise for the birds so they don't come down to eat the bread. I tell him like, how old are you? Like, and then it like ended up by giving me 1 week in isolation for like what they call it, making the yard dirty. So in the court, they told me, you make the yard dirty, so you have a punishment and a fine. So I told him, like, we live in the yard, we clean the yard every day, and the birds will not leave nothing. So they didn't care, they give me a week. In the cells, I was doing the same. They bring me bread, I was throwing it to the birds. And one time came to me a guy with the guards, like officer with the guards, and they was like making fun of me, saying, this guy was throwing the birds some bread. He thinks he's in Vienna. So I told him, what? Like, we think you are in Vienna throwing to the pigeons? I tell him, no, but like, what's your problem with that? Then one day I might go to Vienna and like I will throw like to the pigeons and will look to the birds. They start laughing like hysterically and like, hey, come, look, this one want to go to Vienna. You told me you'll never get out of prison, and they were laughing at me. So life goes on, and I have a scholarship. This is how I got out of Palestine to Germany, but from all the places. To Germany to study filmmaking over there, and I was part of like an acting session or like workshop in Vienna. This thing didn't came to my mind about this incident, and in the morning before the workshop, we were like drinking hot wine to warm ourselves because it was so cold. And throwing some bread to the pigeons randomly, and one of the guys took pictures of me. And it wasn't something planned, like I didn't remember it. So when we went to the workshop, the actor told us, can you tell me, I want you to tell me a story related in your life, related to Vienna from your life in your country. So when I didn't know, when she asked, it was like filmed, and I started laughing. She told me, why do you laugh? I told her, before I start telling the story, I want to show the pictures. I asked the guy to bring the pictures, and we showed it. And I told this story. And I told her, now I will take picture. I took picture of my picture, and I make it like a postcard. And I send it to the same prison where I was, knowing that this guard will still work over there And before the messages go to the sections, they will all look at it to examine it, to let it go or not. And he will know that I went to Vienna, I fed the birds, and he's still trapped in prison. So this is like the levels like, that you have. They look at you as less human being. Like, why not? I'm not travel. Why not? I will go do something like. Why is me feeding the birds or feeding a cat from the windows of the cell make you angry? Because this is a human act. You don't look at me as human. If you see me doing a human act, what you're doing will be like with a little bit of hesitation. Not it will stop because you don't see me as a human. You don't want me to act as a human. You get more angry when you see us sing, when you see us act, when we paint, when we have parties, when we get married, when we have kids. They get angry because whatever they do to us, we're still alive. We're still, as much as we can, happy. Take advantage of any moment of happiness that we can find because we know how short life is in Palestine. So you try to do everything. And when you realize that outside like surrounding you, of your extent of your life, of your evolving as a person, and when you get out of Palestine and you get stopped in every airport, every border control that exists, and they look at you as like something that it shouldn't belong here. Life passing as a Palestinian who choose the path that I chose doesn't end with a happy story. And this I know since with a lot of examples. People who resist doesn't have an ending of a happy ending that the fighter goes back after the war to his family, to his dog. This doesn't exist. This is only in the Western wars happen because our people doesn't go back home, doesn't live the fruits of their suffering and their sacrifice. So when you see being here, you live like a fish inside a small aquarium that is placed in the ocean. You can see life going around you, but you're still in this glass, trapped over there. Life goes by, and you're same where you are. And this is made to make you khalas, to abandon this. Seek personal salvation, individual salvation. But it could happen. You might live happy 5 years, very happy, wildly, do whatever you want. But at the end, you will start feeling this emptiness. Your life doesn't continue or doesn't exist as a Palestinian without knowing what you have to do. What is your role? Living your life. Yeah, live your life. Other people have life. Other fighters have kids, have families, have mothers, have houses, memories, things that they will lose. But what they will lose more is the respect of themselves to themselves, to the people, how they live. How can we live as a slave? We don't accept that, and we will not accept it. The consequences, whatever it will be, will be. We pay this price with with big smile. Yeah. We know that this affects always and keep affecting, and you will pay highly and dearly. But this is the price. If it wasn't with that price, it would be fake. Nothing is for granted in this world. Or you fight for it, or you're going to lose it. And this is what the Israelis and the Zionists and whoever backing them up is failing to get. Our surrendering. 76 years old and more of occupation, ethnic cleansing, genocide. There is no white flag. Some opportunists that, in all the systems of apartheid, of colonialism, that the colonialism force will create a local body to make it look that they are self-sufficient and self-governing, or they have rights. They are the puppets of the occupation. What they call this Palestinian Authority is the occupation police. The Arab Knesset members in the Israeli parliament is washing the face of the occupation. They didn't establish a single thing for their communities since they entered this system. Not even a fucking sewage tube, not fixing a street, not taking in garbage. This is what the Israelis say, that they are citizens, but they're class Z. There's the European up, American European Jews, A class. Afterwards comes all the shades. And even the Arabs, who are Jews, also down. So this entity is built of racism and built of fascism. And it took all the experiences of the worst things that existed and it like implying it all at once, in the same time. From religious fundamentalism and like craziness to brutal capitalism.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes left, so I wouldn't go deep into another. I have more questions, but for later, I think. And I think we can, if nobody else has a question, we can maybe give you the space to close up in your own way, and then we continue with more music to process. Yeah. So yeah.
What I can say in very briefly and very shortly is like we're not gonna be broken. As one of the greatest martyrs said, what fights is the soul. And as an ex-prisoner, I know that they can put you inside the cell, they can put you inside a can, like enclosed. They can use all the force that they have and all the technology that they have. The only place that they cannot enter to and like, go inside is your head, your soul. You cannot catch it. They cannot imprison it. They cannot like break it or bend it. It's unbreakable if you had the will, if you have the courage to pay the price, and if you understand what you're paying for. So, I wanted to send like. I know that they don't hear me. I know that they might never hear my message or my voice. But for the prisoners and for all the Palestinian people in Gaza and West Bank, you are not alone. We're not going to leave you behind. Whatever happens, happens. We are going to keep fighting. We know that our fight could continue 100 years, like the struggle of many nations who struggle and keep fighting and gain their freedom at the end. We will never forgive. We will never forget everybody who took part of this that's happening to us. We are not sorry for nothing. And we're gonna keep resisting, and Viva Palestina.
Viva Palestina. Thank you, Saad. And thank you, Claudia, and thank you, Canino, for hosting this talk and letting us, giving the space for Saad and for me to just be here. If I can end with just one little thing, a story with Saad. I remember not long ago, I was asking you, how do you do it? The Palestinian people, that they put you in prison, they kill you, they torture you, they do every kind of evil against you, and how do you keep going? And I remember you looked at me, you smiled, and you were like, and that's what's driving them crazy. And I just wanted to end with this because I think it's really beautiful and very inspiring as well. Yeah. And yeah, thank you for being with us. Do you want to say something, Claudia?
No, I just wanted to say I'm gonna leave it there. I'm not gonna add anything else. But yeah, thanks everybody, and thank you. And we're gonna continue